I've done a video about this cat Icon. I've done a video about Mr. Static on the channel before, and now her. It's hard to believe that the sidekick of Icon had to tell Superboy to stop looking at her breast because of her outfit. Superboy literally called Rocket a luscious babe. That's funny. Superboy be flirting, but that's none of my business. She pretty much threatened Batman that she'd kick his butt. Let me stop. The sidekick of Icon is an energy projector, kinetic energy dispersal type character, and she's pretty precise with it. Make sure everybody check out my Icon video. I have another character that is kind of chilling with Icon a lot. Basically his sidekick, a lot of people don't talk about. The name happens to be Rocket. Rocket, aka Raquel, was born in Paris Island. She's a kid that had her own dreams after all and wanted to be a writer, talking about typewriter here. She wasn't hanging out with like the best crowd you can think of because they was basically in the ghetto technically. And she actually is one of those kids that appeared in the very first issue of Icon. She lacked motivation for writing but ended up meeting Freeman, aka Icon, a person I got a video about who's super strong and has fought Superman and stuff and can fly, shape-shifting alien type of character. So this comic book series didn't waste no time in getting these two together, being the superhero and sidekick type of thing, drawing out how the outfits should look as a team, for example. But that's when she got her costume made out of materials she's never seen before, even a special belt, aka gear, that would protect from harm if she learned how to use it right. As you can see, she's writing, and let the teaming up begin. Just like Icon, she's one of those characters that lacks appearances. So yeah, very limited amount of showings. But let's get it. How strong are we talking? In a weird way, she kind of helped invent Icon because he wasn't going to necessarily do all this superheroing if it wasn't brought up to his head thanks to her convincing him in everything. When you're talking about her gear, it's made of special fabric that I've already mentioned, but it keeps you cool when it's hot out and warm when it's cold out and never seems to tear. Her standard gear, aka her special belt, stores and redirects inertia. I practiced using it for 3 weeks and etc. to get better. And that's pretty much why she's a helpful aid. So to be honest, the best way to get an understanding of how strong she is, we have to get an idea of how strong that doggone belt is and what all the capabilities of this belt or gear can do, the inertia belt. She's very agile. That can help when it comes to her fighting speed and stuff. So one could say thanks to this gear, she has blast power and she's related to a lot of kinetic-ish type stuff. She kind of reminds me of Black Panther on how he can absorb kinetic energy and dish it back at you when it comes to the kinetic energy manipulation. Instead, hers can just shoot energy blast type stuff, make force fields, and even shape it in like a telekinetic bubble to trap you or some crap. So she can kind of like shape the kinetic energy that she gets hit with. Right here, it tells you more about her power. It's a piece of unique gear that was modified for her powers from his other planet, from this ship he came here in. When it comes to her standard gear, aka costumes, there's a feature that helps her gauge the output of her power belt. When she disperses it, it's usually purple. When she's using it to attack or project or turn the kinetic energy back on you, she can use it with a punch or just straight up blast from long range. Or one can argue just straight up shield herself like on some defense type stuff. Yeah, just shooting her ain't gonna cut it. If you're normal humans, you're like getting blasted away with ease. Did I forget to tell you this allows her to, of course, fly? It also allows her to withstand large falls. You see how she has it coming out of her hands or fists? When it comes to reflexes, she reacts to this dude throwing a brick at her. Like, what did you think was about to happen? She can make force fields at a wide radius to protect a whole bunch of people at once. Like how they tried to shoot, she extended the width to the point where they literally missed because they didn't reach because of her shielding. Just like Icon, she appears with stuff with Batman. Batman's got his attack blocked thanks to her ability to absorb kinetic energy with shielding. If she's in the pickle, she could technically do an omnidirectional type of blast to blast in all directions at the same time of kinetic energy and then just make it narrow. She can use all the kinetic energy she stores at once to make a devastating one-shot type of attack, but that completely drains her and leaves her defenseless, so that's not something she likes to spam. It's better to do smaller, weaker punches rather than just do one massive one to save energy. You're probably asking me, how does she actually compare to Icon himself since she's the sidekick type character? You know, the same Icon that Superman gave him props on how hard he hit him. That same Icon. Even though they imply Superman might have a decent gap, he's not like a flea in comparison to him at least. The same Icon were monsters that were giving Superboy issues. Icon can mess up monsters that give Kryptonians issues like that. I would still say she's nowhere near the league of Icon, but her kinetic energy could at least hit him like this and he goes flying that hard. Her blast power could do this to Icon himself. When they was having like a little disagreement, Superboy tried to grab her and she blasted Superboy off of her. She can throw objects with extra force if they throw it at her. Like say for example, if somebody tries to snipe her, she can catch the thing that's being sniped at her, then disperse that same force back at them the same way they shot it at them. Kind of like if you throw a bomb at her, depending on how powerful that bomb is, she can absorb that energy of the bomb, then simply disperse it back. at you. That's what Rocket can do. The best way to get an idea of her power levels is based on the things she has to fight and the size of them. Like creatures like this, for example, she can react to. She can kind of use her energy in versatile ways, like even trapping you like in a way you can't really move. Thanks to her having more experience with her power, she's trying out new stuff. She put him in an inertia-less field. Even though it's one of those abilities she can't spam because it only lasts for a few seconds. She can force you to give up that way, though. From the outside looking in, if you're a stronger opponent, but if you're an opponent that requires oxygen, she can kind of get a win on you via hacks. Like, even if you're technically an overall more powerful being, she can kind of win, like, even if you're physically stronger, because if you gotta breathe, right? You're probably wondering, how the heck do you hurt a character that can just absorb all your punches as power and redirect them back at you without taking any damage? It's just as simple as, no, it's not what you think. She doesn't have limitless energy absorption. While it is true, blocking bullets with these abilities is easy. Not only that, you can use that power to blast through walls. Even if they're shotgun blasts, they can just get overpowered. Elemental stuff, one could say, could be a weakness because elemental attacks aren't necessarily blunt kinetic force. It's just elemental damage type of stuff. An example would be like getting bluntly punched through a brick wall isn't the same as being electrocuted, so that could be a way to bypass her kinetic energy absorption. They're just two completely different type of damage types, blunt force versus elemental. That's why she actually had to show off her reflexes here. Explosions that have like elemental stuff behind it could be kind of dangerous, one could say, for her overloading. Or if you just have enough blunt power, she can actually technically get her kinetic energy overloaded. Being she has fought with her blast power, her inertia, she had to try to use her blast to hold him off quite a bit, but this being Oblivion was kind of a problem. It even said the belt barely absorbed the shock. He knocked me clean through the wall. So yeah, if you're mighty enough, you can overload her. So her kinetic absorption does have limits. It just takes a lot of damage to even overload it in the first place. And another main weakness is that if you're one of those beings that can survive an all-out assault from her and leave her completely drained afterwards, and you actually withstand the onslaught, you can technically make her defenseless if you drain it with enough power. But the good thing about her, if you do drain her, all she has to do is purposely take damage and recharge her kinetic energy again, I guess. They even state belt feeling overloaded, she's starting to feel all of the damage. She usually doesn't feel the damage. I guess a good way to breach through the shield, if you use slow movements like sneaking up for like a slow type of hug to get the grip on it that way, that could work. But it's like it automatically knows to slow down something when it's coming at a certain speed. But if you do a slow movement that doesn't require pretty much no kinetic energy, you can sneak up on her and get the drop on her that way, I guess. She does a lot of good Samaritan stuff, punching out bad guys, and their attacks don't do nothing to her because of her automatic shields. They've fought a lot of different types of beings, even big beings like this that are way bigger than them in their size. She's been struck by beings like this and sent flying, and it absorbed that attack, and she can counterattack with her own punch to knock them all back, then mix it up with some blast power and evade some attacks. She's fast enough to blitz and intercept bullets from kids getting hit from the bullets, more fighters getting punched away. And why would you try to run away from her? Y'all people ain't learned better than not to use guns by now? Energy blast here, on this occasion working with Superboy. Beings that are clearly bigger than buildings, just because they're a lot bigger than her blast power allows her to stagger those type of beings and knock them on their butt. She has power to stop cars on the spot. Even if people want to throw litter at them, she will automatically shield it. If you throw a car at her, she would just absorb that energy, whether it be a punch or anything, she could just use it against you. Her and her friend used to trade the belt, so whatever feats I show her friend do, it technically applies to Rocket too. The belts and stuff is what made her get her powers anyway, so just in case you see images of her friend, like for example, this is how her friend looks. She can still do crazy stuff like launching cars in the air. Yeah, so their feats are interchangeable because it's like the same weapon. It's the same equipment regardless. You get it? This being known as Rift and has destroyed 2 worlds, he said. A being that requires more than one powerhouse to fight. It's cool seeing her working alongside Superboy, Steel, and etc. It lets you know what kind of power she can attack with, along with Steel knocking Rift back, this powerful being that can easily destroy planets. She's a helpful aid and not dead weight with these brute powerhouses like Superboy and even Steel. I have a video about Steel so you can understand how strong he is. Even if it didn't do much damage, it just staggered him. Rift is not one of those characters where none of these characters can solo on 1v1 though. Keep in mind that Rift can give Superman and Icon, the powerhouses of the group, run for the money. But do you guys respect her? For the most part, guys, that's just about going to do it. She literally has less than 100 appearances, so it's not too much else I can say. It's really hard to place her. I wouldn't necessarily say she's equal to Superman or Icon, especially not Superman. Icon's a bit below Superman, and she's a bit below Icon. But at the same time, she wasn't dead weight against these characters that Superman and Icon had issues with, at least able to hold her ground to some degree. Even though these characters can literally grab cities in their hands like this. But at the same time, what do you guys think? What do y'all think she belongs at? Do you think she's like 50% Icon's power, 25%, 10%, 1% of Icon, less than 1%? What do you guys think? Why do you think she doesn't appear as much? They're technically a part of the DC universe. You would think they will pop up more. Him, her, and Static, Icon, they all are technically in DC. They was originally the Dakotaverse. The worlds got merged, and apparently they're in DC because Icon even appears in Rebirth stuff here and there. But hey, that's just me. What do you guys think, though? I say you gotta respect her. She should technically be able to blast away cities with ease, possibly a planet, but there's no flashy feats to show or prove it, technically, because planet busting is no big deal when it comes to the even medium or low tier powerhouses in DC. So saying she could, it's not really a far fetch considering she's wearing a power belt because it came from this guy's pod that he came or arrived to this planet in the first place. But before I get going, check out my icon video, and I got to say thank you all for the donations. It helps out a lot. Respect her. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.